I mean, if we're gonna dig into it, right? I think we have to understand the history of how we got here, right? And the country in which we live. We know people of color, Black people, have always been creating the culture. And it's no accident that, unfortunately, we haven't also been the same folks responsible for monetizing the culture. Right? I mean, I'll put it this way. I heard this quote one time, so beautifully articulates this thing that we're talking about. And Pamela Jolly, brilliant woman, she said, for us as people of color, business really can't help but be personal, considering the fact that we're the only people who came to this country on a balance sheet.
Will Toms is the definition of an innovator and a trailblazer. He co-founded recphilly, which is a creative incubator that is designed to help artists understand that they are more than just creatives, that they are businesses. The rec in recphilly stands for Resources for Every Creator. It's a perfect balance between giving artists the opportunity to create and work and perfect their craft and understand what they need to scale and what they need to do to turn their art into a financially stable life. Will perfectly embodies the spirit of recphilly, one that is supportive and diverse and fosters that creative atmosphere. He is a fan of art and music, and his passion flows through the entire company, and it's felt in everything from the design of their new multi-million-dollar complex to every event that they throw for artists. It's always a productive conversation when I talk to Will. I love to get his perspective on some solutions we can come up with for the next generation.
We on a construction
We're on the site, so what can we do?
Gotta deal with the sounds. It'll be all right, though. Y'all know the vibe. We are standing in what we call the Rec Room, right? So this is recphilly's new home here in the city. We started off our business up at 9th and Dolphin in North Philly.
Yes, I remember.
Right? 4th floor of a warehouse,
Yes,
4th floor walk up, no AC, no
heat.
AC, right?
I remember that.
So we thugged it out for a few years as we built the model and built our community. And we are just weeks away from opening what is going to be our flagship location here at 9th and Market in Center City. 10,000 square foot creative facility. Really, still true to our mission of how do we make sure that a creative person can have access to all the tools and resources, the strategy and the education, and most importantly, the community and opportunities to be able to build sustainable businesses around their town.
Excellent.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's what you guys are all about. But we'll get into that a little bit more. So now tell us where what this space is here.
Yeah, so this, like I was mentioning, is the newest addition to our model. So because we're in what they call the Fashion District, the new iteration of the Gallery Mall that we grew up.
It used to be the Gallery, but now it's the Fashion District.
Yep. This is the Fashion District. So sitting here, they're projecting over 30 million people a year to be walking through this mall.
That's crazy.
Right? So for me, I'm like, hey, we have tons of creators that are creating products that have photo prints, merchandise, and all that. How do we leverage that to really drive some economic impact? So we built a retail store here.
Okay.
So this will be a retail store and coffee shop where folks can just hang out, see some dope merch from our creators, all locally sourced, but also be able to grab a cup of coffee, get some work done, and lounge out here.
Nice. Working around the construction.
Yeah, working around construction. They're literally painting ceilings. But podcast studio is here. What's really special about the podcast studio is I designed it to have a big circle window that you can literally look in from the mall floor to see creativity happening, right? So I'm walking through, I see that happening, I'm like, what's going on here? Intriguing, right? And then again, it'll have those 2 windows that look over into the retail store as well, just to make sure there's a sight line there.
Right, so it's open.
Also special, I'll definitely mention about the podcast studio is this is in partnership with WXPN.
Oh, that's
a radio
nice.
station in Philly. So I love the fact that they came to the table not only to sponsor the room, but they also equipped it so we can literally air whatever's being recorded in the podcast studio or on the stage that I'll show you right to the airwaves.
Wow,
WXPN.
That's big. Big shout out to WXPN for that. That's crazy.
Huge shout out. Cool. So facilities here, restrooms, right? 3 gender neutral stalls, men's room, women's room, and then a community sink. It's 2019, so it was just like, yo, use whatever toilet you want.
Use whatever toilet you want. I like it.
Our own private entrance is here. So
with the elevator access.
Yeah, we want to make sure that we don't need to shut down when the mall shuts down. Right. Our creators are not going to stop creating at 8 p.m. So we were able to negotiate a 24/7 access point in our lease, making sure that we have a private entrance that lets us in right at night and market.
Right, because late at night, that's the main hour for creators.
It's key. So we'll keep going this way. Take this whole wall,
Excuse us.
this whole side of the hallway is actually private meditation rooms and also like reading nooks. So, you know, mindfulness has been an important part of our team's journey. So making sure that our creators have a space to be able to unplug, get in here, meditate, you know, take a phone call, pray, whatever you got to do, get your mind, your spirit right. So we have 2 meditation rooms. We have a private editing bay, which essentially is going to be the cave for our video editors. So essentially we'll have 3 supercomputers on each of these walls here. So you can literally go and rent those out by the hour to get all your production, post-production needs met. And then here's the mainstay, right? So sitting back here, a few thousand square feet of co-working space. So back here, essentially, we'll have seating for about 50 folks simultaneously, from high-top work desks to lounges to low-top work desks, and then as well as our community kitchen over on this side, which will have like a bar area, etc. And I think what's really exciting about this whole space is by day it's co-working, but then at night we clear out all the furniture, store it away, because this whole space becomes our Live Nation event space, right? So stage in partnership with Live Nation, 250 person capacity event space.
Live Nation, man, that's...
Right behind you actually is the inventory center.
Okay.
So if you're a creator, you're here, got a session, you need to rent out an extra camera, you need to rent out lighting, you need to rent out even a laptop with Photoshop, you'll be able to have access to all those things right through here, rent it out through the app. Oh, he's painting, so we can't get too close to there, but essentially what's down this hallway is the main member entrance, right? So members will be able to come in, key fob, open 2 double red stained glass doors, and that gives them access to the whole creative facility. So we have our Studio 2 over there, which is a very large recording studio. Our DIY studio is up that way. That's for all the messier art. Canvas, painting, you know, printing merchandise, all that stuff happens there. And then our B-room recording studio, perfect for songwriters, producers. Conference room 1. And then our broadcast studio. So that's where we'll have seamless paper backdrops, all that good stuff. Making sure that, you know, all the photo, video needs are met there. And then conference room 2 is here. So, yeah, man.
You guys have a dance studio too, right?
Yeah, so the dance studio is right on the other side. Private movement studio for dancers.
So I said that because you guys cover all the arts. Like you're covering every type of artistic, you know, endeavor that someone can do,
And that's what it's all about. You know, we got our start really focused in the music space, but as we grew, it was important to serve the creative economy from a holistic view, right? From, hey, I'm a dancer, or I'm a talent manager, right? Or I'm a painter. We really wanted to make sure we could service all of those folks, because I think the community is best built when all of those folks are involved.
And it's, you know, if they're all here together, there's so much networking that's going to happen here. It's going to be beautiful.
So, make it happen. Get there on the wait list, and we will see you on the other side. Peace.
Voodoo Man Interview. We're here with the legendary Will Thoms, legend in the making. Tell us, because he's the co-founder of recphilly. So tell us what the mission of recphilly is, why you guys started it, where it came from, and what that's all about.
Yeah, so basically REC is an acronym, resources for every creator, right? And REC really exists to empower creative people to do more of what they love, specifically by giving them access to the resources and tools, the education and the strategies, and the community and opportunities to actually build businesses around their art.
Which is so necessary, because I mean, there's so many people that want to get into it and they just never know where to go or how to start. Or, but what made you, you know, want to do that? What made you want to build this community?
Really, I mean, for me, I got lucky in the sense of I got to just solve my own problem, right? And then in solving my own problem and the problem of some of the people closest to me, I realized that
this was a need.
This was a huge need, right? So for me, man, I went to school and studied communications media, right? Thought I would get into broadcasting and all that kind of stuff, and went off and studied news and marketing. But then I also had a minor in economics, right? So I've always been keen, and more of a personal thing. I wanted to know how money worked, right? And I wanted to know why a lot of people had it and why most people I knew didn't
have it,
right? So I've always been at the crossroads of entertainment and media, but also money, finance, right? And it's funny because we're in our space now, and what we do with Rec is literally at the intersection of those exact things.
There. That's exactly what you're doing. So I just want to, I met Will, I don't even know how many years, was that 3-4 years ago?
Probably 3-4 years ago at this point.
It was a while, and they were at their first location, and I had heard about, the events you guys were doing.
Yep.
So I knew about before. I guess that was before it was officially recphilly.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, right? Rec comes from a live events production company background. Right. So before Rec, we had a production company. My business partner Dave and I. We started back in 2012. From 2012 to I guess all the way through 2014 and in the summer of 2015, just throwing live events, creating content. And that's really where we got our feet wet in the creative community here in Philly. And that's when we kind of saw there is a big need, for hearing the same story over and over again. Everyone that, we're booking for these events are saying, I think I got to go to New York. I think I got to go to LA because I feel like I'm hitting some ceiling. Right. And for me, I never really wanted to believe that because I'm like, I've seen successful careers be built from Philly before. And I know it's possible, but we realized really quickly that there was just the challenge of getting access to these resources for folks, knowing where to go to get the strategies, right? And where was the place that the community that was super talented creatively, but also cared about business, where did they hang out?
Right. So I guess now we're gonna enter the Voodoo Man portion of the interview. So tell me a little bit about what you think that the initial, you guys are solving this problem, but why does that problem exist? That creatives, and especially Black and brown creatives, don't have any kind of access to these resources or the knowledge to know what resources they need, which is even.
Yeah, so there's a couple things in that you just asked, but I mean, if we're gonna dig into it, right, I think we have to understand the history of how we got here, right, and the country in which we live. We know people of color, Black people, have always been creating the culture, and it's no accident that unfortunately we haven't also been the same folks responsible for monetizing the culture. Right. I mean, I'll put it this way. I heard this quote one time, so beautifully articulates this thing that we're talking about. And Pamela Jolly, brilliant woman, she said, for us as people of color, business really can't help but be personal, considering the fact that we're the only people who came to this country on a balance sheet. Right? We That's literally crazy, were wealth before there was wealth. Right?
We were assets,
Right? So in that idea, it's like now it's all about how do we know we're already wealth, right? We know we're valuable. We create value from nothing, from ideas.
Exactly.
But no one wanted to teach us how to capture that value for ourselves, right? No one wanted us having access to all the tools that we needed to really own our power and things like that. So that's kind of why we are where we are. And that's the answer to why is education in public school the way it is, so right? Why are we eating as bad as we are, right?
That is like the big, it's funny though, because that's exactly where I was going. Like, this is one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you specifically was, I see that you guys are giving the power back to creatives. And overwhelmingly in this country, creatives have been the marginalized people.
Yes, sir.
I think that having trauma or going through hardships creates a need to create or express yourself in a way.
Yes, sir.
But I want to see what you think like the future looks like of ownership, because that's the key thing I keep talking about is owning your, because that's what we've been doing. We export culture, like hip hop
100%
is one of the biggest exports America has. But we haven't until recently started really seeing the benefits of that, and we still don't see it in our communities. So
not as much as we should,
right? I mean, there's some communities, but this is something that you guys are actively.
This is one of the things that drives why we do what we do, right? So one of the ideas that we talk about a lot at Rec is this idea of owning our future, right? And we're just now getting to the point, within the last 5 years that independent entrepreneurship in the creative space has become a thing, right? Where folks can literally see, okay, there's independent music careers that are taking off to the highest level, right? Not just like, insert this underground rapper here who is bars on bars, but you'll never hear him on the radio. He's just making a little bit of money touring, No, now it's a very lucrative and viable model, right? So now for us, we're like, we're at the perfect time in history where we really can add fuel to this fire, right? By giving people these resources, these strategies, et cetera. So So it's interesting that you say kind of like this idea of the relationship between talent and trauma.
Right.
Because I think that's inherent, and I think that's a good thing to kind of just like put out there. But what's next is, okay, now that we have this talent, how do we really understand that if I want to be an artist, right, full time, I'm inherently then a creative entrepreneur.
Yeah, you're a business.
You are wholeheartedly a business.
Right.
So for us, that's what we're all about. All of our educational programming is designed to teach direct-to-consumer entrepreneurship, right? How do I, as a creative person, build a brand, right? We talk about this word brand, but not everyone actually understands what brand and branding is. So we teach that stuff. We talk about that, and we have those conversations. And then once you build your brand, how do you go and build an audience using all these digital tools that we have, an audience of people who believe what you believe. And then we go a step further and we understand the science and the art of engaging that audience digitally, digital strategy. And then how do we do what sometimes the intimidating part of engaging this audience in a way that we can then build the right revenue streams to monetize and be able to actually live out our businesses.
Right. So that goes back to, you said you minored in economics. And I think there's a lot of people who are talented. And there's a lot of, people from traumatic backgrounds that are willing, they build audiences, but they never figure out how to monetize that, or how to, or even if they do monetize it, what to do with that money so that they can live with it. And I just wanted, what made your initial interest like in economics? Like what was it? Because you said people around you, we don't come up with, we don't have conversations with money. We don't have it. Our relationship with money as black people is like, it's real, it's weird. It's like, it's challenging. It's like trying to survive. It's never planning for the future. It's day by day, week to week, month to month, hopefully, right? So where did you get that mindset? Like, I want to have a better relationship with money. Like,
I think for me, man, my environment taught me what I didn't want, right? Like I grew up in an environment, where, I had uncles who were murdered at age 16. I had a father who's, been in prison for the last 22 years, right? So I've seen what it looks like to not have money, to not have these strategies to build wealth, and build legacy. And at an early age, man, I just knew that I didn't want it. Right. And I had the opportunity to go to high school just north of the city, after my family, grew up in Germantown. Then I went to high school outside the city, and I got to see, quote unquote, how the other half lived. Right. And then after that, it was just like, wait, what?
What's going on here?
There's kids out here with in-ground pools, going on all the field trips. Their families do dinner together every night, right? I was like, this is a whole different thing. And, at that time, I also got the opportunity to be watching TV, watching people like Diddy and Russell Simmons, and I'm just like, yo, there's another way. So for me, early on, I kind of knew, like, one, I wanted to always stay close to art and creativity, right? Because that was the only thing that allowed me to navigate everything that was happening in my life. And the second was like, okay, I want to make money and live my life through this outlet. So that's kind of how that happened for me. And I wanted to share it, right? As I started to get that knowledge for myself.
Yeah, you looked up to Diddy and Russell Simmons and not Shine.
That part, right?
But so you guys are doing a really great job of helping people to understand how to monetize their art, but you guys are also creating a culture, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to help me define what do you think culture is? Like, what's your definition of culture? Because I think this is a growing conversation.
Yeah, it's a great question. So for me, what is culture, right? Culture is this collection of shared habits, ideas, language, right? How we express ourselves, how we dress, right? All of these sometimes spoken, sometimes unspoken things that are kind of just like silently agreed on. That's what culture is, right? And art is an incredible tool of that, and also usually the vehicle that can expand it, right?
And it helps to. I think art actually helps to define and solidify what culture is. Because I think things will be like out there, but then like your artists will do it, and now boom, that's a part of the culture.
Art, well, and there's that whole question of like, is art reflect society, or is it society reflect art?
What goes first? But I guess I asked this question first. So with that definition of culture, there's been a conversation that I've had multiple times on different podcasts with a whole. It's funny because it's varying different audiences that are asking me this question. Do black people have culture? Like black African Americans? Because, people, they know that, Africans and each region of Africa has different cultures, and everyone recognizes that.
Yeah.
But the question is, do African Americans actually have culture?
Yeah, 100%. So I understand the perspective of folks who say we as African Americans, descendants of slaves, don't have culture. But I think that's a misnomer, right? It's just a language thing.
Right.
To say that we do have culture, right? Because we as people, we have language that we all subscribe to. We have ways of being, right? We have music, we have art, we have these things. So yes, we have culture. Is it as rooted as, right, someone who might say, yo, I'm Nigerian, right? So I have all of the history of Nigeria.
Right.
We don't have that because unfortunately it was stolen and hidden from us. Right. But we've now kind of built this culture of our own. It's still very young, right? And because it's very young, we're still, as a people, sometimes like these wild teenagers who are just trying to explore and figure things out. But we absolutely have culture of our own. Right. And honestly, I'll tell you, like, for us at Rec, specifically for the creatives, there is a specific culture we're looking to build. And I would like to say have built within our community, right? And a lot of it goes back to a couple words you mentioned earlier. It's about shifting this mindset from scarcity to abundance. Right. And that's like fundamental, right? Especially in my business, it's built on resource sharing, which from the communities we're from,
there's no resources to share, right? You can't share what you don't have,
right? So instantly, a lot of us, and myself, I'll be the first to admit, like, came from a background of scarcity, right? If he has it, I can't, right? Or if your homie just got put onto that thing, then that means my homie can't get that slot, right?
Like there's a feeling of there not being enough for everybody.
Yeah. So which then unfortunately, and I don't want to go too deep here, but like when you feel like you never have enough, unfortunately, the next logical thing is sometimes gets us to start thinking that we aren't enough.
Right. No, that's where we want to go. We want to go deep. Like that's because when you feel like there's not enough, it also breeds competition unnecessarily.
100%.
So like, like if you're getting it, then I can't get it. Yep. So I have to stop you from getting it.
Right.
Which is this is the opposite of resource sharing.
Absolutely. And that's the idea that we really wanted to combat, right? And it was like, yo, of course there's opportunities out here that each of us want. But the reality is, if we understand our power, we know that we could be collaborating, creating more opportunities tenfold, right? So for us, it's like in the beginning, it's all about shifting this mindset from scarcity to abundance. And then once you know you are enough and you have access to everything you need when you need it, the sky is the limit. So now let's get more tactical about learning the business building principles that are going to set you up to build your audience, to build wealth. But then once you have that, how do then you create legacy from that, right?
Yeah. So that's exactly the idea of this whole project, right? So like you said that when you have abundance, you can share it. 100%. But in order to do that, you have to first feel like you're worth something.
100%.
And that comes back to the same concept of Black people not recognizing that we have a culture. So because I used to, we're of a like mind where I can like I don't necessarily need to rely on my history to just grow. I feel like I look around, I'm like, this is what I want to do. I can do it. But some people need to fall back on, they need a push in the back. They need some other things to get going forward. And
there's a lot of value in that, right? There's a lot of value in the power of ancestors, right?
There's power in that.
There's a lot of power in that, right? But at the same time, there is some truth in this idea of it's hard to be what you can't see.
Right, that's true.
So
it's really hard to do that.
Right, and sometimes the only way to see it is, oh, well, my grandfather was this, or my great grandfather.
And if you take that away from people, which is so this is why I think it's important for us to. One of the things I want to do with this project is transform the idea from the fact that we don't have culture to the fact that we need to own what our culture is. We're survivors. We're creators. We've created multiple trends in this country. The problem, again, was we didn't own it. Right. So, like, we don't own it even now, right? Like, it's something. If we make something cool, like something pops up here. Once the news anchors start doing it, we stop doing it. Like it's like, all right, we're done with that. We gotta make something new. But if we were able to monetize it, it would be changing people's lives. Like,
and then it's like keep doing it.
Yeah, it's like keep doing it, or you let it grow and expand it to be whatever it's gonna be. Like the Fortnite dance. Like all these kids was doing all these dances on Instagram. They put it in Fortnite and have kids buying them.
Yep.
But the creators of it
weren't getting no money.
They weren't getting paid any money.
And that's the thing, that's where we are, unfortunately. But I do think we're at a space and time where we're preparing ourselves to be able to make that no longer the case. Right. And it's going to take a couple more years, but I'm very confident. And I think what happens next, once we are able to protect our intellectual property, we're going to see a very quick ascension of what I believe will be the new Black middle class, right? And then also some folks that'll be able to even go transcend beyond that and really be creating wealth builders that don't even necessarily have to have full mainstream buy-in to do it. Which I think is also important.
That's very key.
Right? So it's not just like, only
the top 1.101% of the people that make it.
Only our athletes.
Right, only our athletes and the top musicians and, the top creatives. So recphilly is very diverse. Like you guys have, it's not, we talk about, Black people and African Americans a lot on my show. Yeah. But recphilly, your partner, I believe he's Jewish. I believe.
Yeah. Yep.
And the membership is
super diverse. Yep. And that's in ethnicity and age and orientations, everything. Right.
Yeah. How do you pull together this coalition of everybody and create this atmosphere of unity? Because I think that's one of the things that's missing. Like this is actually a place where inclusivity is felt. Like if you come to the rec room, if you come to any rec events, you'll feel that atmosphere. So when you walk in, how do you create that?
Yeah, I think the thing about culture is it's this thing that moves on its own, right? So it's hard to go and be like, I want to then create this culture almost like it's outside of you. What I found is the best way to do that, you got to be it, right? So the fact that Dave and myself, we come from different backgrounds, right? But the mindset is similar where it's like, we know we want to empower creative people. We want to empower ourselves. We want to do these things. But that is so powerful because then that opens up who then we can bring into our spaces, right? Or even what rooms each of us can walk in and out of, right? All for the common mission. So it started with us, and then right away it was like our team. Our team is super diverse, right? So once that happens and it's just who we are, we multiplied ourselves. So the people who came through our doors and felt comfortable were people who could see themselves in us, right? And we just multiplied on that. And that's something even just like as a business person I've learned, like my habits, whatever I'm doing for positive and for worse, are gonna transcend to the team, right? So that's why it's so important for leaders to be the thing, right?
Yeah, you gotta be it, and then let it grow. Yep. So being, you're breaking a lot of new ground in terms of, like this 10,000 foot space. You're in the fashion district. You're partnering with a lot of, big corporations.
This is history in the making, bro.
Right. And you're a young Black dude.
Yes, sir.
What's it like being in those rooms? A lot of people don't have that experience. Give some of these guys like what does that feel like?
It's a different thing, man. I always joke like I'm one of the very few people that I know that can spend their morning in Comcast offices up on the 60th floor, right? But then go and spend my night up in Dogtown with somebody like Theodore Grams, right? And be able to move in both spaces. So I've definitely always appreciated, I think the gift and the blessing that I have to be able to move, navigate both spaces. But I'll say this, man. We know we still live in the country that we do, and there's some folks who unfortunately have such a antiquated mindset, about who we are as people before I even open my mouth.
They're making judgments.
But with all that aside, I will say that I do believe we're getting to a space and time where finally culture is being valued inside these rooms because they're finally getting to a space and time where not off of just the goodwill of people's hearts, because they realize that, you're leaving money on the table by not investing in folks, right? You can no longer undervalue the Black dollar right now based off things that people like Ryan Coogler have been doing in film, the Issa Rae's and TV, or even someone like Bevel, Tristan Walker, what he's doing when it comes to our dollars and products, so I've noticed the shift, where, and if we're gonna be honest, a lot of those folks, they look at us and they wish they had what we had. It's always been that way. So
it's
now
always
it's
been that
like,
way.
I go in and I'm looking at Bull's suit, but Bull's looking at my jacket. Like, yo, where'd you get that from, So that's just kind of how I deal with it. But, I always got to keep it real and just understand that there are mindsets that are yet to be shifted.
I've always found that, you have that gift too, right? You're always yourself. I've never seen you switch it up. You talk to you'll talk to a Comcast dude, owner, just like you will a rapper.
Yeah.
Just like he doesn't. So I think that authenticity is one of the key things for being able to maneuver through both spaces.
And I'll be honest, and that's not easy, bro.
It's not.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's so much pressure socially to shift to be what people, what you think people want you to be.
They want you to be, yeah.
Right? And even, I fell victim to that when I was younger. But I think that's the thing where we as people of color got to get to that supreme confidence.
That confidence in ourselves and just being who and what you are.
Yeah, and stop trying to be that thing and just be.
Just be, yeah.
You know?
You mentioned the black dollar, and I wanted to... And this will probably be like one of the last things.
It's fine.
What do you see? Because to me, that with ownership, I think we have to really start valuing our own dollar and pouring back into our communities.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of people that are getting money, but they don't pour into the communities they came from or communities where their people, like people that look like them, are from. Obviously, LeBron's doing a great job of doing that. We're starting to see, more and more people actively taking on that role. But what do you see? Like, I think that we need to see more common people doing that. Not common, but people that have those resources.
Everyday people.
Right. Everyday people. And how do you think we can, because you're as a facilitator of culture, how do you think we can get that message out there?
Yeah, I think it starts with the conversations. We have to keep talking about it, right? We have to talk about things like, we have to talk about buying black, right? We have to talk about banking black, right? And then after we talk about it, it becomes commonplace knowledge. People then have the ability to choose, right? But it's hard to do that when folks might not even be banking, right? So to be talking about banking black, it's like, well, what are we talking about, right? Yeah. So it's steps, but I think over time we are going to see that because. That's the key to it. We call this idea is called the economic half-life, right? How long does a dollar in a certain community go around itself before it leaves? And I remember the stats I saw were just like staggering.
Yeah, ours is way lower.
Ours is like a couple hours versus some people weeks, right? So that's where it starts. But first, it's how do we empower ourselves enough to make sure we are owning these businesses, the businesses are functioning in a high level of professionalism, right?
So that's what Ryan always says.
Yeah, because it's not just I'm gonna just buy from this guy because he looks like me.
Right.
He looks like me, and
it's good. It has to be competitive. Like that's one of the things he talks about a lot in his interview. He's like, just because it's a black business, they have to be competitive. They have to understand they're competing with the market. So yeah, man, I want to thank you for your time. I know you're a busy guy. You got a lot going on. But, if there's anything that you wanted to say to people about Rec, about what you have going on or to the community, take it away. Yeah,
talk to this camera.
Talk to that camera right there.
Y'all looking at me? You ready? Here's what I have to say. What I have to say is I am very humbled and proud of what our team at Rec has been able to accomplish. But I want to be very clear that what we've now done here, and by building this 10,000 square foot space and developing this program, it's not about us, right? This is about us. And now that these tools are here, I want to challenge each and every person watching this to come and take us up on what we're offering, right? We've been really intentional about designing the space in the way we have. We're really intentional about even the price point to make sure that it remains accessible. So if you're a talented person, you've ever had the idea of pursuing your passion or the idea of building a business, and you ever said, well, I want to, but I don't got the resources, or I don't know how, or I don't know nobody, all that's in the past now. Like, I believe that based off what we are doing, it is now a new chapter in a new era, right? Yeah. So it's still on you to put in the work, and we're not gonna make it easy because entrepreneurship will never be easy, but it can be simple. And I believe if you guys come and be a part of what we're doing, it's gonna change your life. Yeah. And to do that, recphilly.com, we just launched our wait list. So we're taking names of folks who wanna be involved from day one right now. So that way when we launch on December 1st, you'll have everything you need. But take us up on it. And it's hard to really feel it until you get into the space.
You gotta come through. Yeah.
But come through, and the rest will be history.
Yeah, I just want to say, I'm really proud of these guys. I've been watching them grow for years now. Yeah. And this is crazy. I remember, I'll never forget, that conversation we had at one of your first membership meeting, I think it was, where you were talking about building spaces like this.
All over.
Yeah. And I was like, yo.
Yeah, it doesn't stop here. We're perfecting the model here in Philly.
So thank you for your time, man. Appreciate it. My guy, Will.
Thank you, man. We out.
Peace.
Voodoo.